What's more important, me cashing a check or filing my taxes?
Cashing that check.
Cashing that check is very important. So what I find a lot with new people, and this is me myself, so I'm self-reflecting. This isn't me acting like I'm some superior being that understood all this getting started. Whenever I first sit down, getting paid is the only thing that's going to keep you in business. So we have to do that first. So what are things that you can be doing that'll get you paid?
Driving for dollars.
Prospecting.
Yeah, prospecting.
Driving for dollars, doing that. So here's a couple of things I'm going to show you and work with you on today. And this is going to be all relative to prospecting and prioritizing your tasks throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. So that way you are well aware of what you need to be doing, and it's all prospecting up front. Once you've got the prospecting figured out, you're going to eventually fail so much that you win. Right. There's like Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey. You hear about all these Bruce Lees, all these people that have done big, great things. They did not do it without years of failing, but nobody pays attention to the years of failing. Everybody pays attention to that overnight success that took 10 years. Yeah. But what they don't realize was the 9.5 years before everything went haywire for them, that they spent, wanting to give up, crying, just feeling like a failure. They don't pay attention to all that. All they say is, he got lucky. Because that's an easy way for them to figure that out in their head and figure out what happened to them. Prospecting is what's going to get you there. So I want to hit you up with some lead types that I've discussed here on Propelio TV before. Some people have taken advantage of it because they saw the value in what I was doing. Other people heard it and never did anything. But I know that you, sir, are going to go out there and kick some ass. So I'm going to hit you up with some thoughts. Have you seen any of the shows that I've done on water lists?
Yes.
Okay, and have you been pulling some water lists?
Yes, I have one.
Okay, so you've got one. When'd you pull it?
Last week.
Last week, that's exciting. What city?
Arlington.
Arlington, all right. Arlington's a good city to pull in. Arlington's a big city. How much struggle did you get pulling that off?
I went, as a matter of fact, took action, went down to the city hall to see about getting a list from there, and they told me I had to put in an open records request.
Yes, sir.
So did that. They got back to me really quick and, gave me the information, like, here's the information that you asked for, the way that you asked for it. Send me a list. The list was about this long, so I'm like, now what?
All right. This is all good. I didn't mean to cut you off, man. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited.
So the list goes back from, I asked them to give me a list from the water that's been turned off anywhere from a month ago to maybe 6 months ago.
Okay.
And that's the list that they sent me. But the list was so long, they had people on there that's maybe 2 years ago. So now I have to go through and eliminate those, because I'm pretty sure those houses are not available anymore.
Let's clean this up a little bit. Let's change the direction just a little bit. All right. So the open records request, did you file that online or at the hall?
Online.
All right. So good. So all of this activity can be done online. Let's do these water record requests online. The list that you pulled is great, but let's try and clean it up some. And what I would like you to do this time, let's just abandon that list. Let's abandon that list. That list could have been cleaned up a little bit if, I'm not even gonna go down that route. Let's do this. Let's file another open records request for the city of Arlington, and also pull one for Grand Prairie, because Grand Prairie is another easy city to grab one from. And what we're gonna do is say, I want a list of all properties that have had the water shut off within the last 30 days. So it only happened in the last 30 days. And you understand the rest of that process so far. You've watched, excuse me if everybody out there watching is getting lost. I'm trying to focus here on ACE because this is your time. I want to make sure that you're understanding this. I want a list of everything that has had the water shut off in the last 30 days. That's all I want. Okay. So that should be a smaller list than what you got the first time.
My list was giant.
All right, so that's list number one. Now I'm going to have you simultaneously pull a second list. I'm going to have you pull both of these at the exact same time. The second list you pull is, give me a list of all properties that have had the water shut off in the last year and have not been turned back on.
Okay.
So that tells me that the water's been off for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. That thing is straight abandoned. You know that nobody's living there. All right, so now I've got two different list types. Let's focus on the first list we were talking about. The first one was Give me some feedback on that. What was the first one I was talking about?
The one that's been turned off for 30 days.
In the last 30 days. Mm-hmm. That could have been turned off and turned back on in an hour. That could have been turned off and turned back on in 5 days. That could have been turned off and never turned back on.
Right.
So there's all kinds of scenarios there. If you've watched my trainings on that, what type of leads might I be getting out of that? I've got 3 or 4 types.
You might get pre-foreclosure leads out of that. You might get what
are some of the motivating things?
Absentee owners out of that.
Yeah. All right, good feedback. What I'm looking at is if they shut the water off, why did their water get shut off?
Either they couldn't afford it.
Either they couldn't afford it. All right, so that's one. Is that a lead?
Oh yeah, that's a lead.
That's a lead. That's a damn good lead, because if I don't have the ability to turn on the water to my house, something financially is going wrong.
Right.
So boom, what's another thing that might be causing that water to get shut off?
Shit, they may just not want the house anymore.
They moved out.
Yeah.
They don't live there anymore. Boom, that's another good lead for me. Another possibility could be that there was a massive water leak and they don't know how to turn it off. So they called up the water department. I was like, hey, can you turn off the water? I got something crazy going on here. That's a third possibility. A fourth possibility that we could pull out of that first list that we were talking about is that the seller sold their house and canceled it. That's not a lead though. That's not a lead, right?
Right, 'cause somebody could come right back.
Because they already sold it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like, let's say I list my property for sale on the MLS and you come up to buy my house. I agree to sell you my house. It's time to close. Closing date comes. I schedule my water to be turned off. You schedule to have the water turned on.
Right.
And there's nobody for me to market to because the house has already been sold. That's not a good lead for me. So the first thing I need you to do with that list is I need you to, what I'm going to call, scrub the list.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you to go through and search all of those addresses for properties that have been on the MLS and have sold. Now I can take, let's say Arlington gives you a list of 300 properties. I'm just throwing a number out there. If Arlington gives you a list of 300 properties and you can eliminate 200 of them just being retail sales, that narrows you down to 100 people that did not sell their house and had their water shut off for some reason. That is a great list to be starting with. This is all talking about the prospecting side of stuff, and we're going to break this down into a calendar here in a little bit. But now that I've got that list of 100 plus people, 100 people or so, what activities should we be doing to secure and land a deal? All right.
Trying to get a hold of the seller.
Got to get a hold of the seller. So there's some things that we can look at with that list in addition. We can find absentee owners in there. So if I'm stuck on a limited marketing budget, and I don't have a whole lot of ability to go out there and I need to narrow that list down even further from 100 people, I can take a look at all of those property addresses in the Central Appraisal District. And if you want to get a pen and paper, I'm good with that. Okay. If you need one, hit me up. I'll get you one right now. What I'm going to do from there is I'm going to take a look at all the properties on the Central Appraisal District. And what I'm going to be able to find from the Central Appraisal District is if they are an absentee owner. You following me?
Yeah, if the addresses are different.
If the address is different from the home address, I now have found a property that's been abandoned, and it's a landlord that's just now experiencing a vacant property. How many landlords out there do you believe own their properties free and clear?
Probably a majority of them.
I would lean towards most of them got financing. Are you familiar with the BRRRR method? Okay.
Yeah,
if
buy
not,
and rent.
you buy it, you rehab it, you rent it, or you buy it, you rehab it, you rent it, refinance it, and repeat it. That is a very popular financing model for securing properties, and there are thousands and thousands and thousands of landlords out there that own property, but they are leveraged with a loan. So if I find that landlord right at the point in time when their property is being vacated, because if that tenant skips and they shut off that water and they bail, this landlord has several things going through their mind right now. Problem number one, my property is now vacant. Right. If my property is vacant, nobody's paying for my property, and that means that I might have to pay for my property.
Appreciate you checking out that clip. If you want to see hundreds of hours of content just like that, covering topics like subject to, wholesaling, pre-foreclosure, the ins and outs of all of the different aspects that you need as a real estate investor to perform in this business, the information that you need to take your business to the next level, check out Propelio.com's Academy, content that is available absolutely at no cost to you, step by step, no upsells, true content that'll help you perform in this business.